got some work to do, I guess. Let's see what the presentation actually is.
So can you hear me? This is Mark Graham.
Yes, Mark.
Yes, Mark.
Yes.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
So Ms. Vidakan is very eager to, in fact, originally she wanted to enclose her front porch, glass it in, and it was going to be too costly and onerous to do that. So she opted for a screen porch. And one of the major considerations to her is cost. So in addition to that, the existing porch has some significant deficiencies. The decking itself has some major rot to it. It's the old tongue and groove. I think it's a 1x3 tongue and groove painted. These steps, which are now concrete, are very seriously deteriorated. The round columns are rotting away. So the idea was to, if we're going to screen this in, we need to not only replace the floor, but also to move away from, to replace the round columns with square columns, which is going to be significantly easier to adapt the screening to. Ms. Vidakan, actually a spindle below the wall, or a spindle and a railing, would not be appropriate, I wouldn't think, for screening. I suggested a panel situation, and Ms. Vidakan said she just absolutely had no interest whatsoever in the routine maintenance that is required of that. And she was very eager to use vinyl siding, and I think at some point she'd like to vinyl side the exterior of the house, which is in need of paint severely. We are retaining the upper part of the porch from the columns up, and we're retaining the structure of the porch floor, including the masonry columns that support the floor. Ms. Vidakan had no interest whatsoever in screening underneath the porch. She'd much prefer to keep it open. A lot of this is kind of driven by the neighbor's house. I shouldn't say a lot of it's driven by, but a very good example, which is actually shown in the pictures, is of the neighbor's house, which isn't all that far away. And they have converted a front, there it is. They have converted a front porch into a glass room, and they have left it open underneath, and they also have square columns. With regard to the rear porch, it is in pretty good condition. We intend to retain the flooring and the stairs and the roof cover. We would like to change out the round columns for square columns, again, so that we can, because the railing is going to be higher, the railings would die into the turning. So we have opted to replace the turned columns for square columns, which will enable accommodating the 36-inch high railing much better. She also wanted some outdoor living in the back. The rear porch is very small. So the idea was to add decking as best we could, and to treat the walls of that deck the same way that the walls below the screens were treated on the front porch. So she was not in favor, again, from the standpoint of cost and maintenance, of doing a spindle railing around the deck. She also, for the same reasons that she has for the front, did not want any screening below, but desired to keep it open. Anybody have any questions?
Well, perhaps she should have, as a team, you should have looked into the guidelines before we found out all her her wish list. This house has no relation to the one you referred to at all. It's a cute little house. Try not to change cute little houses. And this is a substantial change. The wall on the front porch. We'd be looking for a renovation of the front porch. That would be our highest goal.
I'm not sure what you're suggesting, that we would not screen it in, not be permitted to do that?
Well, screening would be the only thing in question in my mind. Everything else is a change of materials, change of look, change of design. And this is a historically significant house that the code is not looking for changes on a house of this type.
I'm sure you referred to the design guidelines. There's a pretty significant detailed section on porches and entry features that talk about retaining historic materials, restoring historic details. There's a graphic image in there about enclosing porches is not recommended. And this plan is a great departure from the intent of the code and the design guidelines.
Yeah, I agree with Steve and Wendy's comments too.
So how would you treat the area below the railing? Or are you suggesting that we would not be permitted to screen it in, or we would be able to? And if we're able to, how do we attach the screening? I assume you're also suggesting that we would need to replace the existing rotted turned columns that have entasis, to replace those with the same thing. And is that correct?
Our highest goal, treating it in another way, we'd have to see what that other way would be.
Yeah.
Well, am I not showing that on the elevation and the plan?
Well, you have a wall, you have different materials. Is the gingerbread gone underneath there? Things like that.
Well, I can't imagine how you would accommodate it with the screening. We have not changed any of the gingerbread anywhere else on the house. A significant amount of the attention we've been making is to accommodate the screening. And I'm not sure quite how to do that with round columns with entasis. And the only thing that I can think of to do below the screening, below the 36-inch high railing, is to use panels. I don't see how you do it with spindles.
Yeah,
I have them on my.
I would not remove the lattice at the bottom with the vinyl siding walls. I would retain it with the emphasis on the columns and the balustrade. I mean, it is a really nice, well done, proportioned, and aesthetically pleasing house. Is there a chance maybe to put the screen porch on the back and put a roof, a little larger roof, and put it maybe be more appropriate on the back, and keep the aesthetics that is currently on the front, and maybe put a screen porch on the back possibly, which would be a little easier maybe with the square columns, and you can do panels. If you do them out of AZAC and MDF, you maybe paint them once every 20, 25 years, and they still have an aesthetic pleasing look to them and maybe more into character of the house.
So you would not favor screening in the front at all?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, I would not either.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hi, George.
I came to my office. Evidently, it's going to work better.
So you missed this discussion, George?
No, I heard it on my phone, and I agree with the board. I think the vinyl siding is completely off the table as a material. And I do think there's a way. I think we should, yeah, I think not screening the front porch is the right move, and just simply maintaining it properly. But I think you can combine maybe maybe in the back porch, if you want to do the solid railing and screens above, but not with vinyl, but detailed with good materials. There are plenty that do not rot, some that don't need painting.
In addition,
Some
the
agree.
gingerbread, as we're calling it, the millwork at the gable end and at the porch corners does not appear to be original to the house. The house appears to be, I haven't read that report in detail, but it appears to be craftsman bungalow. So if you want to restore that rafter tail at the gable end, oh, I think it's in there. When I look at the photo, it looks like the millwork is right over the rafter tail at the gable end. You can take those off if you like, but again, I agree with Bill's choice. Try to put the screen porch on the back. I would not vote in favor of it on the front of the house.
Yeah, save this front porch. I'm reasonably certain that the original steps were wood, and replacing them with new steps, supporting the existing structure and removing and replacing the flooring that needs to be replaced. So some basic restoration techniques with respect to the front porch, and then get the screened-in porch to the rear. It's difficult for me to imagine that anybody buys a house that they're not allowed to touch and improve in whatever way they see fit. Somebody replaced that, the 3 windows that were in that gable end in the front with, some pitiful sliding aluminum window. So we've lost that detail, and pulling that back into the house would be lovely as well. But put the money and the entertainment space or whatever to the rear of the house. There's space to do it. We sacrificed the rear porch, but we saved the front porch, and the character defining features of that front porch.
So is it correct that we would not be required to rehabilitate the front porch? And if we did, all we
No,
needed to do-
that's not correct. You would be required to rehabilitate the porch.
You're required to maintain the character of the house. Letting it rot away is not consistent with that.
So, but we don't need to come back to the board for rehabilitation as long as we do it in kind.
Yes,
Correct.
you do. Unless it's a repair. If it's a repair, you don't have to come in.
Yes.
But if it's a replacement in kind, if we replace a rotted column with another column, we're okay, right?
Right, as long as it matches that column, same
Sure.
materials.
Design and material.
I haven't looked at it up close, Mark, but my experience with these columns is they're generally fine except for the base, and the base is replaceable with a new base to the existing column.
Right.
And it's a lot less expensive to do that than replacing a column that's 100 years old to match is going to be $1,500 a piece. So it's in her best interest to try to save the ones she's got.
But you're correct, Phil. The bases are the aspects that are rotting out.
Yeah. So if you lift them, repair the base, get air moving back, moving on the inside of that column, put it on a shoe. And those are all ways to fix this that maintains the character of the column and the house.
So with regard to the rear deck, can we do that as proposed, as is, or in other words, if she decides against screening that in, are you, except for the vinyl railing, are you accepting of the rear deck addition?
I think it would have to have either a balustrade, or if you did walled panels, you'd have to like come back and show us what those panels might look like that are going around there, that, like we said, that would have stiles and rails and a panel, and how that would be detailed.
We would need plans for the back porch deck or whatever come. I would add.
We have the plans. They're here.
Well, just with
Back.
with detailing of the if there is a solid wall below, with detailing of that's acceptable, more compatible with the house.
Oh, there's the back.
Yeah, and there's a detail showing plywood and vinyl siding, which we're saying is unacceptable.
Right.
So we would just replace the siding with the panels.
Or spindles,
Right.
you know, I mean, if you're going to use a
She's
vinyl
concerned
deck,
about cost and maintenance.
yeah, vinyl deck and that sort of thing are in the rear of the house is,
Well, or AZAC materials that actually don't need to be painted
right.
can go long term without maintenance.
Okay.
Cost-wise, I think.
So the front porch is denied in its entirety, and the rear is acceptable as long as we change the area below the handrail.
You talked about screening it in, perhaps.
Yes, I would, if that's the case, then we will come back to the board.
Okay. In terms of replacing the elements of the front porch in kind, Wendy was alluding to the fact there have been different things done to this house over a long period of time. You do not need to match the steps are dilapidated, and perhaps design would be better, and the railing on the steps is, you can certainly remove that and replace that with something more suitable. And if you want to address those windows, that would be a wonderful thing as well. You wouldn't match them in kind, but you would roll back the clock and match the previous steps, perhaps, or the previous window.
What I actually drew was to add an extra step because, excuse me, those risers are too high.
Okay.
And we have room before we get to the sidewalk to do that, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good.
We,
Okay.
Oh yeah, those windows are nicer. So it's a 232.
That's beautiful. That's a great, cute little house.
yeah,
So what are you suggesting with regard to the windows?
Those windows
Brad?
above the porch to look like the old picture. If you're going to do anything with them.
No, we're not doing anything with the windows
yeah.
Okay.
or the door.
Right. Well,
That's fine.
That's your prerogative.
Absolutely.
So is it the case then that there are no screen porches on the fronts of houses in Chagrin Falls, where you've had a rehab of a home? And
When it changes the historically significance that much, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
It's all case
I
by
haven't
case.
seen any. We haven't approved any.
Yeah, that's a sweeping statement, but largely true.
Yeah.
There was a time when this front porch would be made in addition to the living room, and we didn't, that wasn't good either. We liked,
Or like the house next door.
yeah, there you go. That's true.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I guess
Just
I
identify
look-
yourself for the record, Sherry.
What'd you say?
Just identify yourself for the record, please.
Sherry Vatican Salvati. And I guess I'm just trying to understand, because I look around my neighborhood and there are many of these. I go into the village and there are many of these. And I'm not somebody who has an exorbitant amount of money like many people in my community. So I'm trying to respectfully maintain my home and not be this piece of trash that's falling apart, but at the same time do it responsibly, fiscally for myself. And this porch is not like I have to come and clean it off to even be able to use it. And just with there, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this space would be more usable to me. So I was trying to interpret, I guess, what I thought the historical parameters were and maintain those. And it sounds like from your perspective that I haven't even come close. But when I think about financially going forward, it sounds like you're saying I can replace the steps, I can replace the handrails. I have to find some boot to retain these columns. I guess I don't understand why I should have to, in order to maintain my home, take on something that requires a lot of maintenance and constant painting of those spindles. Like, if I weren't screening in the porch, could I have panels there between the columns so that it was less labor intensive to me? I'm not a 20-year-old person anymore. I'm a single woman, so I'm not looking to do painting every year for all of that lattice and all of those spindles. But at the same time, I'm trying to maintain, the quality of my home, I guess, within my community. So do I have no other options to do what I wanted to do to use the space of my home in terms of even the railings and the lattice? Are those not my option?
You moved to chagrin. You
Screened it in, or do I have to, can I screen it in if I figure out a way with round columns?
You moved to Chagrin because it had all kinds of cute houses, and you own one of those very cute houses. You just want to maintain that cute house. I don't think screening is going to work on this particular house, this porch in the front. We're saving you money, I think, by our changes. This isn't more expensive. I think it's less expensive. If you replace that whole front porch floor with tongue and groove, some material that even synthetic, done right, synthetic, but we would prefer wood, but that would be a maintenance thing. As far as maintaining your wall that you want to put, you're going to maintain the wall, or you're going to maintain the spindle. I'm not sure there's a trade-off there. Vinyl siding just doesn't work on a house this beautiful. So I don't think cost is a factor here.
I'm not at the point of the vinyl siding yet. I'm just trying to get the structure.
I think it's a legitimate question whether the board would entertain other options.
It's 9 o'clock.
For siding. Yeah, or not for siding, for the railings. And there are more acceptable options than obviously the vinyl sided low wall that you could present. I'm curious what Wendy and Steve think about just simply maintaining that railing. It does look like, it looks close to the historic railing. One would suppose it's been replaced at some point in the last 100 years.
I think the choice is up to the owner, and perhaps they could go back and examine the costs and come up with a proposal that we could look at. I think we would certainly consider alternative materials other than vinyl for the railing, for the spindle rail. I think we've set some parameters that we would not consider the screening of the front porch as compatible with the historic characteristics of the house. Again, as Steve said, this is a wonderful, wonderful craftsman bungalow house that I think you elevate the value of the house by keeping the character defining features of the house. So in the long run, I think you're increasing the value of the home by maintaining those features. So I would propose that we make a motion and that the owner and the designer have a chance to go back and re-examine this based on the feedback that we've had today.
Okay.
Or
I'll accept
material.
that as a motion, and I second that motion.
So just for the materials of the spindles?
Well, the motion will, for you to revise and resubmit based on what you would like to do with the house.
And
This being proposed, you've had some good feedback today. If you want to revise and resubmit this, if you want to resubmit a new design based on our feedback.
and I'd look into the guidelines. They will be helpful.
Okay, and otherwise we can still do the things that you've approved.
Correct.
Approved anything.
We haven't
Haven't
had a
approved
motion
anything.
for approve anything.
So I thought you approved the
We
steps.
need to see the design as a whole. It's hard to say, okay, we'll just improve the spindle rail, but maybe you want to change the column or the flooring material, or maybe you want to change the decking material. We need to see the design as a whole for approval.
Let's see if
We meet every 2 weeks, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't be that long to take another look at it.
So do we want to table this, or do we want to make a motion to deny?
revise and resubmit.
approval or
Revise and resubmit.
Okay, motion to revise and resubmit.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs to revise and resubmit. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
folks.
113 Church Street. New accessory structure. Car garage. I guess around the corner. I'm looking forward to.
So it's behind the house, Steve. They currently have an attached garage. And they're coming to you at the next meeting for an addition to the house. They're going to take the attached garage and turn it into living space. They're proposing to build this new detached garage. Make sense?
It makes sense. It makes more sense to see it all at once. So we don't have to undo. It's too bad we didn't have the garage farther this way or that way.
Is there any issue with the garage being in that close to the house?
Are we building this garage in front of the old garage, so the old garage is half not usable?
Yes.
Well, that doesn't make any sense at this point.
Yeah, because what they want to do is take the attached garage and they're going to do away with it and make it living space.
Yeah, I got it.
Is Rick on? Or is this RSA
Yeah, this is RSA. I'm not sure.
or Dave? I'm not sure who's doing it.
So Harry, is this garage far enough from the house?
It's far enough from the house. They're going to have to do not, make it non-combustible on the garage side.
Can you guys hear me yet?
Yes.
There
we
you
do.
are.
There we go.
So we do have drawings before you to show you the rest of the work that's intended on the house, Steve.
Good.
Yeah, we thought we were going for preliminary on that, because that's typically been the deal when you go to the BZA, I thought, where you get preliminary look. And then the BZA knows your opinion. So what's going on is that the Markeys, Jill's parents are moving in with them. They're of an age where, staying in a, it's not desirable, but they need another bedroom. The garage that exists is pretty small, it's difficult to use. It's not ideal, it works, but it's not ideal. But they're already in the process of making this move, and the reason we're looking for final on the garage is we want to get it up and be able to store some things and get the process underway, and then build the addition after the Board of Zoning Appeals here. Just for reference, the existing garage, near as we can tell, misses the 30-foot setback by 3.5 inches. And then the new entry that you're seeing on there, while it doesn't extend past the existing house, extends a little farther into the non-conforming rear yard. The rear yard is to the east, since the front porch faces west. You guys have seen the front porch just a couple years ago. That's all brand new. So we can work through this any way you want to, but yeah, it's always been our intent to show you everything and then, find out what your opinion is on the rest of it, which we think is pretty clean and simple, and it makes a lot of sense. And it solves a lifestyle problem for the Markeys, which is pretty considerate. And I think it's phenomenal that they want to bring their parents in and take care of them. You don't see as much of that these days. And then the garage it's a typical garage of the village. It's, 3 feet off the side yard, which is conforming. It's down next to the neighbor's garage. It faces the road. It's not overly sized. It's, it's like 22 by 20. The little shed there that you see says demo, they actually sold that to somebody, so it's not going away. It was a kid's playhouse, but they don't need it anymore. There's a couple big trees back there that we're trying to be sensitive to on the site. So that's kind of the gist of the project. So if we could just kind of move through and look at the proposal and the drawings, I think we could keep it moving.
Does the addition conform to lot area?
Yes.
Rick?
Yeah, you see all that. They got a lot of area to the north. You look at the size of the lot there.
I don't.
So they're good. Okay.
I know this seems backwards, but I understand the logic. And if we assume that we're going to see the addition and make decisions, this is really no different than if the addition already existed and we're looking at a garage now, or there's no relevance to this garage, in my opinion, with respect to what's going on with the house at this point.
Other than we need you guys to approve it in order to be able to build it.
Exactly. So
having the existing garage usable is not, as a garage, is not important. One thing, moving it north would put it alongside the neighbor's garage. It just looks like a little bit of an alley thing.
We're looking at that. We probably are going to move it a little north, but that was discussed after these drawings were submitted. So moving it a little farther north, it gives us better light.
I mean, this is pretty characteristic of placement of garages and accessory buildings in the village.
Right.
I'm okay with this location.
I am too, except I agree with Phil's comment, or Steve's, that why not line it up like with this right here, so that if these windows would get more daylight and stuff, or just, it seems like this is really tight. But again, that's your prerogative, I guess.
Well, the bedroom windows would be looking out at light versus garage.
Right.
The new bedroom windows.
Right.
Well, I think
Were you trying to tuck it in for a public sight line? Is that what you were thinking, Rick?
Well, no, it wasn't that as much as just convenience. And then there's a real
okay.
maple tree back there that we're still looking at as far as staying out of the drip line and the root structure and all that. But we may push it back a little bit and get an arborist involved, and whatever roots we cut, we'll prune up above, and because obviously the tree's favoring south.
Oh, is there a tree back there? Is that what it is?
Yes, on the left corner. No, that's,
Okay, oh, I see, thank you.
yeah, that's a monster maple tree. We're just trying to be sensitive to it and
Sure.
Okay,
right thing. So I think we're gonna move the garage. I'm pretty sure we're gonna move it back some. I don't know if we're gonna move it all the way back even with the other garage, but we're gonna push it back some.
okay.
Well, that would take care of one of my concerns about this, because I think this is very prominent, this placement for the neighbor next door. Since it's right, it kind of creates another edge for their driveway there. And I guess that's not a shared drive, is it?
No,
But it's close. So, but, and there, you have no windows on that side, which is kind of a problem with this placement. But when you slide it next to that existing garage, then it's not a problem
Right.
for the
Right.
neighbor.
And that, near as we can tell too, that garage to the east is, that driveway is exactly on the property line.
Right. Looks like it.
So it's just, again, it's just a cute little garage.
Can we see the garage?
Yeah, there's drawings of it there.
The section drawing has a different eave detail than the elevations. And I would prefer the section drawing detail, which wouldn't have a pork chop.
That's fine. I mean, the existing house has big return.
Sloping soffit, right? And then this is vinyl sided.
The house is vinyl sided.
The house is vinyl sided. This is vinyl sided.
I mean,
it'd be nice to get a little more detail on the rake. I think the house may not just have flat rakes.
Do you have a shingle mold there or anything to define that edge of the rake?
I don't see anything.
Is it match the details of the house, Rick? Of the eaves and stuff?
the house has a little more detail on the rake, so we could go to the house drawings, you'll see what that looks like.
Okay.
And,
Rick, you want to bring up the house drawings?
yeah, do you guys not have them?
I don't have them in this presentation.
I'm in with my laptop, but give me a second. I don't know if I have them on the laptop. I got them on paper here. John, can you put them up on that thing? How do we do that? Just email them to conference at RSA Architects. This is a little crazy, but while we're doing that, if you guys want to take a look at the other Church Street piece we have is really a simple. I know we got 5 things this morning, so I'm trying to help everybody keep it moving. Harry, I know we submitted this. I thought you guys had it in there.
Yeah, but I don't have it. It's for the next meeting. I don't have it in this group for this meeting.
Are we supposed to get the BZA approval before we?
No, no. And also your variance might be off the table, so,
Really?
yes. I'll talk to you offline about that.
Okay.
Do you want to go to 100 Church Street, Steve?
Yeah, let's go on. Yeah.
Table this to get that out of the way and then we'll come back.
So the 100 Church Street is just a fireplace addition. It's right on the property line, and they're going to Board of Zoning Appeals. They're scheduled to be here this.
They're going to Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yes, it's a fireplace right here. And I'll let Rick pick up, but it's encroaches into that setback. It's right at the property line.
House has no fireplace in it. It looked like it was designed once upon a time, but it was never done. So this is a steel firebox because the masonry one there would be a little more problematic. It has a foundation underneath it that's about 16 inches wide that comes out real close to the property line. It's wrapped with stone. we kind of need to project it out, otherwise it completely destroys one of the closets on the second floor, which is tough to begin with. It's not much of a closet to begin with. And I think if we're going to do it, the expression of it, being out off that wall a little bit works better than having that stone or some other material flush in the wall. And typically, I think we've all agreed that if there's masonry material on these wood boxes, they certainly read more authentic and better. So that's what we're asking for, is to put this chimney here, and then we've got to get the variance from the BZA to be on the property line, basically a couple inches away. I know you guys are aware there's an awful lot of stuff in town that's built right on the property line, but the neighbor will have a chance to talk about it, and the BZA will certainly have their chance to throw down on it.
Yeah.
So what is that projection from the exterior wall towards the driveway?
Like 16 inches.
I'm sorry, 6 to 8 inches?
16 inches.
16.
1/6.
1/6, thank you, 16 inches.
There's like 19 inches over there. It
Oh,
varies.
there.
The property
Okay,
line-
thank you.
Yeah, the property line isn't exactly parallel to the house. I'm sure you've never seen that, but this time it's true.
Can we go back to that photograph with the driveway and the elevation where the fireplace is going to be? Yeah, yes.
So my concerns looking at this, I mean, I know there's a concern about the property line, but my concern was whether that stone was an actual natural stone veneer or like a, stick on fake stone veneer. It looks like it was held up above the grade 6 inches, which made me wonder if it was and then I thought the shoulders did not look properly detailed. It seems like they should have some kind of stone cap versus just showing that stone. I think they'll would also maintain much more successfully with an
Yeah, we'll give you a stone cap.
sloping
Yeah,
surfaces.
that's my bet. We'll put a stone cap there.
That's real stone.
The lead stone veneer, is that something you've used before?
Yeah,
You've seen before, Rick?
We're still sort of there's a inspiration photo they have. It's a stone that's pretty popular when you see it. It's not dry stack. It's got the mortar in it. So, we know enough not to use dry stack stone on exterior situations here in Ohio, but we can get you the actual stone sample when it comes back for the final, because all you guys can do is approve it preliminarily today.
So
a stone sample would be important, I think, on this.
I agree. And what's this termination here? Is that metal, Rick?
Yeah, it's a steel flue, so that's gonna be a metal termination up there. We may put a clay chimney pot up there too. It's just.
And is this stone right here? This band?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with George's comments. If you have this stone band, I'd pick up a nice stone band along here that would go down. So at least they tie in together. And if you could do a clay pot on top of there instead of a metal. And the stone's pretty important because sometimes the cultured stone, you can pick up a pattern.
Well, I looked at one yesterday and it took less than a minute to pick 5 pieces of exactly the same shape. So no, we're not doing that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
joint will be terribly important because this will be a great asset to this old house. Unless they recess and square off the mortar joint and make it look like a modern house. This joint look like an old chimney.
And the side of that house does actually is asking for something.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
looks like it could have been there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really helps that elevation.
Yep.
Very visible elevation too for a side.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, my last comment, consider brick too. I think that might historically be your, and it's economical and it's historically maybe your best go-to for that chimney.
But it would have to be thin brick again because just the tightness of everything. So we talked about it, but we'll get another discussion and come back with what the client really wants. I think they may be listening here, but
Okay, well, yeah, no, thin brick isn't as great an option, obviously. I mean, it's an option, but it's not as appealing as real brick.
Right.
Some of these units are shallower than others is another. I know it's a 42-inch opening on the fireplace I saw. So I mean, I don't know if you can get a shallower version that wide, but you can dig around and look at some of these units.
How many inches is the variance for? 16 inches, the whole thing? Is the house on the property line?
I forget the number exactly, Wendy, but it's.
Okay.
Like it's like 2 foot or something.
Steve, are you ready for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve plans as presented with stone detail at cap and shoulders and sample stone material to be submitted for final approval.
Very good. Second?
So is that a second, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Rick, you ready to go back to 113 Church?
It should be sitting on my desktop as soon as this thing goes away. You guys really for me to share?
Sure. Katie, can you let Rick?
Yeah, he can, Harry, if you stop, you can go
Yep.
ahead, Rick.
Okay. Where, John?
Do you see the green screen share?
Yeah. I just can't screen from that far away.
Perfect.
I just have to find where I shared it to, where I dumped it onto the desktop.
Active desktop.
Other?
Right, we're going. It'll be lunch and learn.
Yeah, I'm trying, buddy.
Good one, Harry.
Let's see what Rick's working on.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it's the 2012 residential presentation.
No, that's not it.
You might consider a new computer.
I might. I should. Oh.
Ah, there we go.
All right, there you go. Okay, so mine getting shoved aside, right? Okay, so here's the drawing you've been looking at, which shows this new entry piece here and the extension for the master, what becomes the bathroom to the new master, and then this is the garage, which we're going to slide back. Foundation plan, this is pushed out a little bit here, but it doesn't go past the existing wall, and the garage wall just extends. The existing foundation wall stays. One of the things that's going on here to make you aware of is there are a lot of level changes in the existing house. We are going to make that all be the same. So, you know, you used to step down, step down, step down. The garage obviously had a much lower floor level. So the plan is to add this new entry vestibule right here. Here's what becomes the master bedroom for the garage. There was formerly a window here looking out under the pergola. Now there's going to be a door and then an accessible bedroom here off the back. There's a roof plan. This is the front elevation that exists. This is the porch that was added on a year and a half ago. This is the window that exists in the back of the garage right now. And then the change consists of leaving this all basically the same. And then extending this out and having a small window here. I will point out that the house currently has random shutteritis. They're in some places, they're not in others. I'll show you some goofy ones on the back. Our intention to nix them all. Like here they are again.
And I'm sorry, Rick, this whole house is vinyl sided?
Yeah. Somewhere before you guys showed up, somebody said it was okay. So here's the existing rear elevation. This is where you'll see most of the work and the existing little entry. This window's in a stairway. There's half shutters, no shutters, shutters. We're looking for some consistency. Here's the plan. These windows are up kind of high in the wall. And that was partially because the garage sits in front of them. As we move it down, that'll become less of an issue, but these are both in the bathroom. And then here's the new glass entry to the atrium. This, what was a double hung window, gets kind of cut in half to give this roof an appropriate slope. Here's the eave detail and the rake that exists on the house, and we'd be more than happy to match that on the garage. And then here's a couple sections through it. And that's our proposal for the addition to the house. We think it's pretty simple, it's clean, solves a very functional problem for Marky's.
Who's having a bad day with the dog?
Yeah,
Is it you, Steve?
somebody's dog
No.
was dead.
Oh.
I don't know. Did I go too fast? You guys-
No, thank you.
That's good.
That's good. Thank you.
So do you have an opinion? I mean, I guess Harry's not gonna let you vote on this one, but if, assuming we get the variance, looks pretty good, right?
I like how you address the shudderitis.
Yeah, you can deliver those right
Yeah,
to
you
the
won
kid's
Phil
house.
over right there. That was it. Phil gets to go.
I mean, if you're gonna bring this one in for preliminary, then we'll have a chance to talk about it. I mean, maybe details on the front entry might be a question, but that's, I mean, that's, or the rear entry, I should say.
An existing front entry?
No,
No, the rear entry.
Rear entry.
Addition. But I mean, let's not get sidetracked into that because we are supposed to be, I think matching the eave details is the critical component. The rake details on the garage.
Yeah, all right.
And the, you know, you can see you've got reentrant corners on this. The garage could still be simpler and just maybe have the sloping soffit detail, or it could go further and try and mimic those
These guys?
returns on the eaves. So kind of pick your choice there, I guess, from my point of view. I don't know if someone else has a different opinion on that.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Why is there a sloping soffit? What, it doesn't look like.
There was
that.
on the section, so that's like a simple garage detail on it. So
Right.
you just went down and terminated on a vertical fascia board, and
Okay,
I mean, that's okay. It's a simpler structure as long as it had some shingle mold or some rake detail on it.
I think I like that in the little garage better than doing these big returns.
I agree.
Might be more appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. So we're good for now?
Yep.
Yes.
On the road? Keep it moving. I'm gonna stop share.
Okay.
See you guys as soon as we're allowed to on this one.
Do we have to do we need a motion on that? No,
We need it for the
Table.
garage.
for the
Pardon?
garage?
They did motion garage is done.
Garage is done, but the garage is moving to some degree.
We didn't make any have any vote on the garage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need a motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, motion to approve plans is presented with garage rake detail to complement house rear elevation and consideration to site garage as far north as possible.
That's good. Good. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay.
So that was a motion by Naylor, seconded by
King.
King. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay,
All right, see y'all hopefully soon.
thanks, Rick.
Interesting project.
Yeah, we
Katie,
can
can you bring back my screen share, please?
107 Kenton Road.
You should just be able to do it, Harry. Nobody else is screen sharing.
Excuse me.
Okay, little background on this. This gentleman went to Board of Zoning Appeals last year to get a variance on this garage, which was approved. He opted to go for the variance before coming to the ABR, so that's why you haven't seen this. The variance is granted for the garage. It's over 700 square feet, located in the rear yard. Katie, is there anybody online to talk about this?
Yes, Ted Kramer is.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning. Ted Kramer here.
Can you enable a video?
There he is.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Harry, was there anything else, or do you want me to kind of walk through this now?
You can take it from there. I just gave him a brief overview.
Sure.
What your relationship to the project is?
Sure. I'm the homeowner. My wife,
Homeowner?
Allison, homeowner. My wife and I, Allison, own the home here at 107 Kenton. I've been there for about 13 years. This proposed accessory structure, the two-car garage, is something that is with a growing family and children that are now driving, we're in need of. It's something that I've planned, kind of had in the back of my mind for many years to add to our property here. Like Harry said, we did receive the variance first. Wanted to make sure that there was no issue with that before we went through the process with the architectural review board and et cetera. So we've been kind of going through one step at a time. The proposed structure is like 1,112 square feet. It's a two-car garage, as you can see here, with a storage area in the rear on the north side of the garage, and there's a bonus room above. Again, with a large family, a place for a game room, place for the kids to have friends over, etc. Basically, the house is the garage. I'm sorry, is designed to basically mimic the house. All the architectural details, all of the building materials. Horizontal 6-inch lap siding, hardy AZEK trim. The windows, are a wood vinyl clad window, the same ones that. Well, actually, let me jump back. About 7 or 8 years ago, we did come to the board and we did a major renovation to the existing house. All new windows, all new doors, all new hardy siding, all new AZEK trim, and this garage here is designed to replicate all the architectural details and materials that were used on the house, like I said, 7 or 8 years ago when we renovated the exterior. Likewise with the garage doors, the man door into the garage, all of those are going to match now the existing house. I did send some photos along with my application, of the existing house, just so you could see that they do complement the new structure does complement the home. There's a site plan here. We've had the site graded, had topography, had the surveyor come out and show that there's some grading work that's going to be needed around the proposed garage. The backyard kind of slopes to the northwest there. What else? That's the 30,000 foot overview.
You have plumbing in the proposed structure?
So yeah, like I mentioned to Harry a couple weeks ago when I submitted, we are proposing to eventually, and we showed as a future bath on the second floor. With the lumber market where it's at right now, I don't anticipate won't be in the budget to build out that bonus room immediately. So basically, we want to, assuming we'll be approved here, when we move forward to submit for building permit, that the build out of the second floor will be most likely be a later phase. But we will, at this point in time, stub a water line and sewer. We were on septic here on our street, and we did install a new septic several years ago. And the septic was sized, and there is a T in the line stubbed towards the vicinity of this garage, so that we could have a future bath in there and plumbing.
Well, I think
If we go to these elevations, can we go to the actually left elevation? I see one thing that's troubling to me on this, and it's not a huge thing, but can you, there we go, thanks. This little moment where you've kind of, you're in plane with the roof there, but then you cut this off, seems awkward. And I think actually you could really address that, even if you just cut that down so it's not in plane on the front. You've got kind of a symmetry on the front.
Yeah.
And then that awkwardly projects off that side. I don't think that's a big change. That shouldn't change your functionality from the stair hall.
I was going to say, I don't think it impacts the stairs coming up. You're right.
Shouldn't. So that I think would make that projection on that end a little more graceful.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something we could. I don't see any reason we couldn't accommodate that.
And then I think overall you did a nice job. I mean, massing wise and composition. I would make this a flat roof at the front and put a railing to tie in with the architecture that you started back here, and to define this entrance better. You just need a 30-inch rail. You don't need 3 feet, and get rid. This to me seems like a little bit awkward geometry. This roof, how it dies in this corner. So if you did just flat roof with the railing 30 inches high to tie in with what you did back there, so you have 360-degree architecture. And then my other comment is I notice how this is sloping up like this. Typically, when you do a flat roof, you want the gutter board to be consistent around. And how you do that is, if we're looking in plan here, if this is the plan of that porch, and I realize this is underneath the deck, but they just basically build what's called a hip roof, like this, so that it slopes this way, it slopes this way, and it slopes this way. Then you get a consistent, nice, thin board that goes around. So that would, and then you just build the deck over that, and it'll just aesthetically look a little better instead of going from thin to wider. And then Harry, if you could just move over to the back elevation, please. The rear. And my other comment would be it'd be nice if these newel posts would line up with the corners, and how you achieve that is if you could do an overhang here, even if it's 8 inches and 8 inches, and then just line this newel post up so that this line's consistent down. Aesthetically, it'll look a little better. I know you'd have to adjust this a little bit, and you have to adjust this, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it'll look a little more pleasing as a composition.
Okay.
Other than that, I think overall it looks pretty good. And I agree with George's comment about that's a little bit of an awkward condition, but if you pull it down, it might be able to solve it.
Right.
It should make the back look like that.
Right. Yeah.
Which would be okay, and
I see. Yeah.
that'll actually add to the symmetry of the back in a subtle way.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think all those changes, just like modifications, are good comments, and yeah, I will work with the architect to make those adjustments. Any other questions?
Is there a rationale for the lack of windows in that rear storage area? Is it just because there's nothing in there that needs natural light, or you want the wall space, or?
Yeah, I think exactly. I think it's a combination of both. It literally will be storage. It's not going to be an occupied space of any sort. So yeah, wall space for hanging, lawn furniture, things like that. So yeah, we did think it was, and being in the back, facing the back, basically facing the woods, just didn't see the need to add the additional cost, frankly.
Okay. Are you clear on the descriptives that Bill gave you? to pass
Yeah,
out?
actually, yeah, I am. I will I am. I will relay that to the architect, frankly, and this, I know this is recorded as well, so I can have Chris, the architect, right? I think this is recorded. He can come back and I will have him walk through, listen to this part of the presentation, and if he has any questions, but I'm sure he'll be on board.
Yeah, you can easily go back to YouTube and rewatch this.
Right.
Saturday
Comes to
morning
mind.
cartoons.
Yeah.
One thing comes to mind to me, and it is absolutely not directed to you, but houses sell and things change, and having your post-collegiate graduate live up here, not our business. Airbnb is becoming more of a factor in today's world. Harry, how does that work? In other words, the next owner decides to make a little money on his fancy garage. How does that work?
Well, currently Airbnbs are not permitted in the village.
They're not.
No, they're not. That is considered a business activity.
Oh, the people on May Court will be interested to hear that.
If we get a complaint, we'll deal with it, but it's just like rental properties.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
All
all.
right. Well, you've answered that question clearly. Thank you.
So
I think it looks great.
I
Tune
make
this a little
motion-
bit. Yeah. Okay.
I make a motion to approve plans as presented with adjustments to roof line and rear porch banister details.
Okay, we're gonna leave that to purview of the owner.
And he'll be back for final, so this is only a
After
preliminary.
fine.
Oh, okay,
great.
so that was preliminary approval. Yeah,
I second that. Looks great. It'll be fun.
it does. It looks.
Yeah, it
very
looks real good.
Thank you.
Okay, motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
you're
See you
welcome.
again- See you again soon.
Just a real quick comment. Mr. Kramer's father used to be the chairman of the Sugar Falls ABR a number of years ago. He was an
Oh, well.
So,
That's neat.
He had no influence on this architect.
Good
Thanks.
thing we approved you.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks,
All right,
Harry.
take care.
Thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Thank
Very
you.
good. That's
Take
nice.
care.
All right.
This is a
87 South Main Street.
resubmittal from the last meeting,
That was a no-show, yeah.
right?
I think the owner's here, right?
Good.
Is that Dan Siegel?
No, I'm not, I'm here.
Oh, Don. Okay,
Don, okay, Don's here.
Yeah,
to
I'm Auburn
Don's
Friends.
here.
I thought Sophie was gonna be here too.
Well, this
Dan
is the
Siegel-
rear yard that,
That's here as well.
Dan's online as well, so.
Okay.
this is the rear yard that also is the front yard for the property sharing that driveway behind them,
Correct.
Mhm.
which house is very close to that rear property line.
So this is Barb Christian's old house?
Yes, it is.
And
My God, that's a maze back there already. It's their backyard, but it's somebody's front yard.
Yeah, as I requested, and maybe Don or Dan Siegel can allude to this. Have you talked to the property owner at 95 South Main Street about this?
My wife told him we planned on putting a fence back there.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like much of a discussion.
Are they entitled to public notice of this, Harry?
No, they're not. I just, I
Okay.
did just request that the applicant reach out to the property.
Okay.
So I did notice when I was up to do the site survey, there's a lot of arborvitae's already planted between properties. I think they're arborvitae's, so some type of landscape, pretty dense bush. And my question was, were those arborvitae's being removed, or is that in addition to that? Is a fence in addition to the landscape?
Yeah, if I can go over why we're putting a fence there.
Sure.
And Harry,
Dan, just for the record, state who you are.
my name is Dan Siegel.
Okay.
And Harry, I think you're aware too. We're trying to, as a landowner, you want to protect the integrity of your lot line. Our neighbors, not intentionally, are using a lot of land back there that across our property line. They built a rather large shed, an 8-foot tall shed that's probably about 8 feet encroached on our lot line. They built it about a year ago. Also, they keep building materials on our lot line. They put their mailbox on our lot line. We're not saying they have any intent to take our lot line, but I understand under the law, if a neighbor is using your lot line to that extent over a period of time, you could lose your rights to the lot line. And so again, to protect our lot line, we actually paid a couple $1,000s to have a surveyor stake the line, and they removed the stakes as well. So one of the reasons we need that fence there is to protect the integrity of the lot line. The second reason is our neighbors have nice dogs, but two very large dogs that they keep in their front yard, and we walk our little dogs in our backyard. And throughout the day when the dogs are getting walked, it's absolute chaos. So we need a way to screen as well as we can to help to screen the dogs. And then we do have the arborvitae's, which we tried to plant to give us an ability to screen the dogs, and it's really not helping. They're able to see through it, and it's chaos.
Mhm.
But we do plan on maintaining them.
So the fence going to go behind the arborvitae's or in front of it?
Behind them.
Okay.
On the property line.
Did you consider an aluminum picket fence for a little more see-through, or?
Well, the see-through issue is because of the dogs. We're trying to create a screening.
Okay.
And also, if you look at the house that's drawn on the line, they actually rebuilt that house. It's 2 or 3 times the size, and it actually crosses where the driveway is. So it's the new fence won't cover the complete part of the house, but it'll cover probably a half to 2/3 of the house. But the house does pass onto the drive. The current
Where's
house.
the shed that is encroaching your property line? Is it to the north of the 95 South Main?
It's to the north.
Yeah. Okay.
Has it been moved? How are you going to build a fence if the shed is sitting?
Yeah, well, we're just going to build a fence sort of through the shed, just again to establish the property line. Because even though, and I told Bob, that my neighbor, when he was building it, I saw it was built, and I told him I won't object, because he's put a lot of time and money into it. But I did mention, I'm not going to ask him to remove it, but a next owner that may acquire the house may ask him to remove it. But I think if I create the fence through the shed, it'll establish the property line, even though the shed is clearly through the property line. And the shed's 8 feet tall, so it's a big shed.
That's a good point, because you can establish a property line with a split rail fence. And that would accomplish the establishment of your lot line. Dog issue, something else. You say you have small dogs, perhaps 8 feet is unnecessary. I would like
It's
to.
a 6-foot fence.
6-foot fence, excuse me. Perhaps the 6-foot fence is a little too tall, because from the street, I did not wander back in here. It didn't think appropriate. But I'd like to, and I'd like to know that there's communication before you build a Berlin Wall in front of their house. Sounds like there's a little give and take going on. I don't know if it's resubmit or just tabling it. More communication and more investigation.
And dog wise, it seems like maybe a 42-inch solid fence could be an answer that wouldn't be the Berlin Wall in front of their house, right?
Right.
Could you do a 42-inch board-on-board fence?
I think that's what he meant.
Isn't
It
that-
can be done, yeah, no problem. You
Just
can't,
a
won't get any
thought.
privacy out of it, but
So you guys think we should table this and maybe
Yes.
rediscuss it? And honestly, it seems like your neighbors ought to move their shed,
Yes, that's
Yeah, I
right.
agree.
Yes.
For sure.
because that's just, right.
If we could
complication.
offline explore that situation, that would be helpful.
Like I said, he's got a lot of money and time into that shed, so I'm not objecting to the shed.
Oh, okay.
It's just, I just need to establish the property line and create a good screening for the chaos we get 4 or 5 times a day with the dogs. It's like I said, all my dogs, it's just, dogs do what dogs do.
So you're gonna build your fence up to his shed and then out the other side?
Correct.
But not through the middle of the inside of the shed.
Good question, George.
Yeah, really.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're moving to table this so that we can do a site
Yes.
visit? Okay.
We need a motion for that, Harry?
No, you can just table it, but I would like to make a comment here.
Yes.
It is, I would suggest that Mr. Siegel get something in writing from the folks at 95 North Main Street on this, so they're in agreement. And you guys can go out and visit the site. Maybe they can consider a different style fence. You should probably put that in your motion.
Yeah, we'd be open to it. Like I said, the 42-inch fence is mentioned. But the board on board would be, again, important for the screening.
That would make a big difference, just the height.
Yes. Very good. All right, we're looking for a motion here, Harry?
No, but you should have some comments,
Comments would
minutes
be
there.
more communication, so everybody knows what's happening before the backhoe show up. And I personally am going to go walk this around.
It doesn't seem like the drawing that we have represents what's actually going to get put up.
That is correct.
And not in terms of the 6 foot board fence, that part, but if it is in fact going to go through somebody, the shed next door, or some compromise like that.
Is that frame shed on here? Is that the shed?
No, that's gone. So they need to really update their site plan
Yeah,
here.
let's have a new site plan with the house, the other house, and the infamous shed.
Yeah. We need to, yeah. Thanks.
Yep. All righty.
So Don and Dan, do you have those comments?
Yeah.
No,
no.
So you just want me to write in here that it was tabled and then, but they need to come back with a better site plan and something in writing from the other neighbors?
Right, or revise and resubmit, updated site plan showing the shed as it relates to the property line and the new fence. And they should also get rid of the frame shed on their site plan, because that's not true.
Yes.
Accurate depiction of the neighboring house.
Right, and they should probably get something in writing from a property owner at 95 South Main Street. They're in agreement with this.
Okay.
Does that sound good, Steve?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so Don and Dan, revise and resubmit. If you can make the next meeting, that would, June 1st would be the date.
Okay.
Thank you.
But no vote is being taken because.
No vote.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's get the nitty gritty here. 79 West Street. Helen's Sushi Restaurant.
Morning.
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 Morning. Presenting, so he'll be on in a second. I'll be the wingman.
Maybe you can explain to us the nature of the metal mesh screening that's proposed for this? That was my big question on this. And I think that might be a change from last time, or maybe there's just more of it because the low stone wall went away.
The metal mesh and then how you're handling the grade.
Yeah, the grade is very subtle, so it was a little bit more exaggerated last time and wasn't accurately shown. The metal mesh is much more intense looking because the PDF is so miniaturized that it looks very dark. And the elevations that we had originally drawn, it kind of fades out. The idea with the mesh is that you'd have, plant growth kind of going up and around the arbors and up the railings. So it would be kind of a loose metal mesh. And per the historic report, they were talking about how it was helpful to, to soften the look of the new arbor and having they favored the idea of having the mesh. So because of the alcohol license of the sushi bar, we felt it was required for code. So anyway.
Do you have an example, like a blow up of that mesh, what it looks like? Is it like an inch by an inch, or that's square? It looks like it's square, I'm assuming, or like.
Yeah, it's probably not drawn exactly to scale, but it is, like I said, it looks very dark. It's not an accurate representation of what the reality would be.
What is the opening? I mean, what's the interval of the mesh?
Maybe an inch, I'm guessing. I think that would be good enough to get, maybe an inch and a half to get plantings to establish.
What color are you proposing?
I think that remains to be seen. And Rick, maybe you can comment on that. I mean,
it's probably going to be dark, like bronze or something like that. I mean, the idea of it is it's probably an inch by an inch. It's going to be as thin a gauge as we can get that will work and not be easily damaged. It's just kind of creates a little mystery. It's Asian. We're going to grow some stuff on it, like make people wonder what's happening behind the screen. Come around, have a look, come in, buy some sushi. It's kind of cool. It's real cool. It's subtle.
Could we see this side elevation? I know it jumps up on the corner there, but I thought the sides were maybe full height.
They are.
The whole sides, and that I was kind of concerned about that. Just big, and I believe this is the mirror of the other end elevation of the pergola, right?
Correct. They're the same on both sides.
Yeah. So on one side, it's up against the entry to the new steakhouse patio. I think it's still being called JoJo's. So if we want the symmetry and, that correct design feeling, we want to do it on both sides. And if you look at the height of that in relation to this elevation, this is kind of a tall building for as small as it is. So it feels good there.
I feel like a big circle cutout in that, or some softening of the shape. I mean, you've got a nice circle cut out at the entry. There's something about that just seems a little,
well, George, I think it does look heavy. I think it looks heavy in the elevation, but I think the reality is the mesh will be fine enough that you'll still see people behind. It will, create maybe it'll be where plantings grow up, that will be opaque. But I think for the most part, you'll still be able to see through it, and it will be loose enough to be able to, see what's happening beyond it. It was more just, to allow the plantings to establish, to soften it. It's kind of more of a sculptural element. But again, the graphic representation, I have to apologize, it's a little bit grayer than I intended. So,
George, think of it with wisteria and flowers and all that growing on it. It's it's not just going to be a fence. We're not doing a prison here.
If we could just see the sample of that mesh when you come in for final.
Sure.
Yeah.
We know we got to come back one more time because we got to,
Mm-hmm.
and consider maybe the shape of that. I mean, I still think there might be a way to soften the look of it and add a little more interest from the ends, just with some.
Well, I think
some cutout.
Yeah, what you're showing on the front elevation where it drops down, maybe there's a way to articulate that on the ends to give it some interest as well.
Yeah, if you go to the side,
even if all you're doing is dropping it down by a couple of feet,
Yeah, just match this on the side and just, you define the corner here and you define this corner with the taller and then just step it down and put one more post. Then it's
Yeah.
consistent with the geometry and everything that's going on there.
It does appear very opaque.
I don't,
Experience with waiting for plants to grow is not all that successful. And November until May, there's no plants, there's no leaves. It's very opaque. It'd be nice to see what it really is, because it's very confining. You're dining outdoors, but you're not to a great degree. Both ends are blocked. The north end is the same as the south end.
Yes, the north end is exactly the same currently as the south end. And that the main impetus to that was that you have JoJo's Steakhouse right next to it. So, we were trying to allow a little bit of a screen wall there. I do see the point though, Mr. Childs, of, doing the corner being higher and kind of stepping it down. I think that, again, having the plantings kind of be more prominent on the corners, I think would be really aesthetically pleasing. And I think, structurally, and I think when you look at this, the end result is that the pergola and the trellis structure, the main pergola being Asian, slightly Asian in look, the rest of it being very simple, so that it doesn't compete with the building. We were trying to make it as simple as possible so that, the building's still shown, the Victorian.
So
you're contemplating potted plants? Is that what's going on? Potted plants? Because I'm not seeing any beds.
There'll be beds surrounding it. There currently is, some bedding.
Oh, there are beds? Okay.
Yeah, especially on the south and the north ends there.
Okay.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't work if you pot it because it freezes during the winter.
Right, that's why I was asking.
Yeah. So getting back to the form of that thing, Bill, we kind of like your idea to cut it down by half against the building. And maybe what we do is run that railing that you see on the front that's at the mid height. We just run that all the way through and then have another panel on top at the two immediate corner pieces and then have it drop back down again when we get close to the building. And then there's still a space between this and the building because we really don't want to attach anything to the building. So we'd be happy to study that. I think that's an okay idea.
yeah. I mean, if you've got that mesh, I think it'd be really helpful if, you've got, you could find a photograph of this in use. What I'm picturing, I don't have any objection to at all, but it kind of depends on the wire gauge and the weave, all that stuff. And it'd be really helpful that my picture is what you're also picturing. But I really I like what you've come up with, and we're talking about a little bit of refinement, and let's keep this thing moving. Around the side, the trash enclosure is much improved. And the rear fence, is that existing or is that also new?
That's unchanged.
Okay. We have anything else we got to look at?
That's it.
No.
So I make a motion for preliminary approval of plans as presented with restudy of the south end mesh and sample mesh to be submitted at final.
Should be the north too.
North and south.
Oh, and the north and south. Okay. So
Are we
John,
thinking that-
restudy of the north and south. mesh.
I missed that last part, I'm sorry. You
So,
said that-
motion for preliminary approval of plans as presented with restudy of north and south end mesh and mesh sample to be submitted at final.
Okay,
I'll second that.
Knowing what meshes is extremely important.
Okay, roll call. Motion by Naylor, second by Childs. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's time for a 2-minute break.
No breaks.
Tough it out, Joan.
Thank you.
Okay, you're on the clock.
All right, I've already added the next round of people, and I think Brian is Brian Kaufman. Can you raise your hand, Brian, if David Curbs is going to be on this too? Krebs, sorry, David Krebs.
Katie, we're in a 2-minute timeout.
I know, I'm just trying to get it ready.
Yeah, we cut that down from 3 to 2.
There's only 2 minutes left. No, wait, there's only
Surprise,
1 minute left.
surprise using like that. Katie, we're on a 90-second timeout.
Brad and Ashley, I'm going to ask you both to unmute. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right people in here.
Okay, I'm done. We're ready.
All right.
Brad, am I adding David Krebs?
Where are we?
Oh, okay.
This is 71 Standridge.
Yes, it is. So
Okay.
you looked at this a couple months ago. There were some zoning issues with it. So they took our comments. They came back with a revised plan. And currently, this preliminary plan looks like it'll meet all the zoning setbacks and stuff. So they're here for a preliminary review.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. Do you want me to get started? Is everybody?
Go ahead. Yep.
Great. So meeting back again, we're still circling back for preliminary review. We had met back in December, and it was essentially tabled because there were several variances that we were going to have to request. So there wasn't really a whole lot to vote on. We went back with the client and we've kind of discussed and just decided that, ultimately what we're trying to do is to avoid any need for any variances at this time. So what we did was we did eliminate the connected portico going out to the pool house and pool. So that at this time we will not be doing that. And then the other portion that we did was the studio garage piece was more disconnected from the house, would have been a detached garage. And we've used that kind of the shared wall and got within our 40% of connection there. So I think with both of those moves that we were able to kind of avoid going for any variances of that kind. I tried to do some just kind of upfront site stuff. Positioning of the house, what we had discussed last time, is still essentially the same. In the proposed site plan, I did show the location of the new house in relationship to where the existing house sets. I think everybody was kind of in agreement or did understand that the house is going to be placed really far back on the property. And I even threw some images in there to kind of give an idea what you would see as you approach, because this lot happens right at the end of Stan Ridge. You almost barely even know that the street's back there, but so the proposed here site plan that we did, showing kind of the location of the existing house, which will be removed. There was a report done on that. There wasn't any historical significance recognized for that. So that will be a portion of it, is demoing out the new house, and then just showing the location of the new. The property does straddle Moreland Hills and Chagrin Falls, but it did seem like this will all be handled through Chagrin Falls. We were adhering to the side yard setbacks. And then just the layout and positioning of the house is just really intended to kind of sit along that ridge line and take full advantage of the 180 panoramic views all the way through and along the valley there. The plan changed a little bit from the last time we had, as we had discussed. We felt getting the basically flipping where the kitchen is located in relationship to where the family room was. That was something that they wanted to do, having the kitchen positioned closer to the garage for accessibility for pantry and all that was important, and having kind of the views pushing out and getting full views all the way around the living room was too. So we've compacted the house a little bit more too, just as we're starting to get into pricing and that. And then we've kind of got some sketchy kind of hinting towards the architecture a little bit of what we're going to try to do here. Hasn't changed much in design approach than what it did last time, other than we are looking at doing more monopitch type roofs. Definitely, I'm more contemporary in nature and design. That was kind of where it was heading in the previous one as well. And you'll see as you approach the drive, the garage studio space, which sits out in front. The garage is actually going to be 5 to 6 feet down below where the finished floor will be, the main floor. So that garage will almost feel a little bit more sunk. And, I think it's more about the approach to the main front door and main part of the house. And then that with some landscaping will be a little bit more hidden as you're going down there. It works with the grading as well, because the grade does kind of drop along that southern end of the property too. So there's on one of the earlier sheets, there's just a series of Google Street View images that we did, just as you get right to where the driveway starts, right at the end of Stan Ridge. And then even it was funny because I don't even think the Google Street View even recognized it, but they actually went back into their driveway and took some pictures. You can barely even see the house getting back to that point. So really, yeah, what we're trying to do right now, one, knowing that hopefully we can avoid all of our variances, just get preliminary approval so that we can start putting some construction drawings to this, getting some pricing, working with block builders on the building, obviously working with Brad and Ashley Owen, the clients. It's been their dream to live here in Chagrin Falls for a long period of time. And they found a perfect lot, which gives them the combination of being a little bit kind of isolated and in their own space and have their privacy, but then also to be so close still to downtown, take advantage of the shopping. And it just felt like it was just a great place for them to raise their children and all that. So I guess I'll leave it at that and just open up any questions to the board.
I think it's a pretty interesting composition. Looks like you really was well thought out and took advantage of the site. Almost looks like a tree house, and with all the fantastic views and glass, I think it's great. I'd love to have David and the owner give me a tour when it's done.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Brad and Ashley will have a party.
My question about it really, because it is so removed from the street, but is it close to other structures, properties, adjacent houses on the backside?
So
I'm not sure the site plan shows that. So we're like, what street is this backing up to? It's not back up to nothing, I don't think.
It's pretty much backing up to nothing.
Is the Metro Parks? Be
It's
close
Metro Parkland and
That's great.
yeah.
Okay, so it's really tucked away. So yeah, so that, I mean, it is a nice composition.
I don't think this is, I mean, unless there's strong objection to the configuration, the massing, everything else. Once you eliminate the roadblocks of the zoning issues, this is, you know, this is a perfect spot for a contemporary home. And I personally think that we should, you know, just say, keep going, but it's nowhere near where we can comment or grant any kind of preliminary approval, because the clock starts with preliminary approval, and this has to be considerably further, I think. And I had some conversation with John Williams with regards to the house next door to me and his frustration over our process being different. I don't think we change our process. We just have to keep people informed as to what that means with respect to getting the drawings completed to a point where we can actually grant a preliminary approval.
We had hoped that in this presentation that it would give at least enough of an essence of what the house is trying to be. Whether it needs to be a formal preliminary approval, I think the big part was we know we're doing a more of a contemporary home in the village that doesn't see a lot of this. I think everybody seems to be pretty aware of how isolated the site is. And we want to know that with confidence that we can kind of move forward into the design, further develop this, start getting pricing in that, and just know that we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves and kind of where we're going right now.
I think you summed it up very well, because are we going to be able to build this ultra contemporary house in Chagrin Falls? They're going to eat us alive at the Architectural Board of Review. We've approved many contemporary houses, especially when they don't affect the neighborhood. And this is a buried house, a beautiful buried house. We've gotten nothing but positive feedback. I haven't heard anything negative. And as long as it's not overly visible and changing Chagrin Falls because of contemporary nature, I think you can move forward in confidence.
Yeah, I would think your next step would be to start blocking in and AutoCAD your elevation so we get the views. I know it's a house that has a lot of angles in, but to try to get the straight view so we understand the masking a little bit more. I mean, you obviously can see on the right-hand side that straight view with the garage, that seems fairly straightforward, but like this end view here, looks like that must be a fireplace. How those, just a straight on view of some of these elevations, if you can, just so we understand the geometry, the fenestration, the masking and proportions. But I agree with Steve. It looks like you're on your way and it looks really cool.
Proving us what it looks like from the end of the street, which is where you are, that would be extremely helpful. And you've more or less done that, but it would be nice to know, because we don't count on vegetation hiding houses. And this is up and over the hill, I think. And that'd be nice to know for sure.
I agree. And you have the 3 voting members telling you you're moving in the right direction.
All right, that's really, I think, all we need at the moment. So, well, for the next meeting, then we'll develop elevations. Is there anything from a presentation standpoint that you would like to see that we can incorporate, or are we starting to look at sections as well, or anything like that?
I think you're okay. Sorry.
No, just study the grading, and you're on top of a significant hillside. I'm not sure if it's technically a hillside or not, but I'm sure you're doing soils borings and checking that situation out.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be good to do some building sections preliminary wise and look at your elevations and
Yeah.
like George was saying with I'm sure you did a full topo and just understand the grading and how everything works, but looks like you're on your way.
Okay. That's great.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
your time. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks,
We're
Brian.
not gonna have
Take
a
care.
motion at all?
No,
No.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
35 Hall Street.
Katie, who we gonna promote here? Dave and Mark?
I'm here. I don't
Hi,
know.
Mark. Hi. Hello, David.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
So this is
I saw oh, there he is. Okay.
another preliminary. I forget what number we're on preliminaries here.
58, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, David, I'll turn it over to you if you want to take on the presentation.
Yeah, so from the last meeting, the comments, we were really kind of stuck on the front elevation and some of the detailing we were showing and some of the, the heights and some of the pitches and et cetera, et cetera. So what we did is we went back and addressed each one of those. We got rid of the vertical siding on the front of the house. We did a horizontal band up in that attic window. We pulled the house up a little bit, but we're still pretty far below what we're permitted. So we still have a 2-story house with the roof pitch, I believe is in consisting with the neighboring houses. And we did study that dormer over the garage, and Mark and I both agree that we much prefer the gable. I feel like it's sitting off by itself enough, and it doesn't really compete with anything. It's allowed to be its own little element there.
And
We
it's,
also got,
it's consistent with a lot of the a lot of the houses along in the neighborhood and on the street.
and we got rid of the transom windows as well. With the only one is I maintain I would like to keep one over the front door just so we can keep that door to a nicer human scale, I guess. It's too tall even for me to have an 8-foot door. So that really, I feel like that really addressed all the comments that we received.
I do think that this front elevation is more successful, and I think that the dormer over the garage, works. I don't know. Maybe it seems a little tall to me, maybe, but I'm okay with that. I went back to the sketch to try and remember what, and you've got that shed dormer on the sketch. I still prefer it, but I mean, I think I'm not as worried now about the front elevation of this. I think when you go to the right side and the rear, the master, I think, is what is behind the garage. That kind of duality. There's a whole second front back roof ridge. Actually, the roof plan kind of shows it too. But that's a really long roof ridge running front rear on the side, and it looks like an addition, which is odd for a new house. This one, the one, the kind of right side of this, right hand side of the rear.
I guess that's a matter of opinion. I don't know if it reads like an addition. That's specifically why we put the bay there, is to break up that wall to minimize that. And that thing sits, they're practically staring at the neighbor's garage,
this is, let's not forget where this house is. I live down there. We're all tight. We all know each other. And we accept that. I think if you don't accept that, maybe you should look somewhere else in the village, because we are, we're all on top of each other. So I'm not sure. That side wall doesn't bother me. Actually, I like it. I think the bay is important to make that wall work.
Can we go back to this site plan? That's a good point.
Absolutely.
And I was not looking at this in relation to the site plan.
Yeah, I know I had the site plan.
You did, I don't see it now.
See if I have if you guys want to screen share with me, I can open
Yeah,
up.
you could do that. I may not have brought it up on this plan. Katie, I'll stop sharing, Katie. You can let Dave share his site plan.
Yeah, he should be able to as soon as you stop. Dave, you should be able to now.
Okay. I'm trying to see what I'm showing you guys. What do you guys see? Because I'm not, all I'm seeing is
Nothing.
you.
So if you press the green screen share.
Oh, sorry, there we go. There we go.
Right there.
Yeah. Make sure I got the right.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to zoom in here. This is the proposed house. So if you can, I'm going to highlight that. That's the house. And here's their garage right there.
That's close.
Yeah, so I
That's helpful.
it's close, but honestly, in this corner, I like to refer to as the hood. This corner of the hood, that's like an acre, because a lot of us are, you're about 3 feet. All the structures right around me, where our garages practically touch each other. So
Yeah, no, that is helpful, I think, in relation to what you've got next to you. That side elevation makes more sense.
yeah, and the other side, it's even closer. That house is only, it's not even 2.5 feet off the lot.
Yeah, and it's not really a house. It's all you see is one blank wall for that
Right.
2-car deep garage. It's
Right.
Right, exactly.
Pretty ugly
Which is like
view.
a response to some of our window choices along that elevation too. We want the light, but it'd be just as well we don't stare at the side of their house.
Yeah.
And then going back to the rear elevation, I don't know if Dave, you want to
I'm
keep
gonna stop sharing.
Oh, yeah.
Which elevation you want, George?
The rear.
Okay.
So it look like you've got not necessarily a flat roof. What pitch is that? It must be getting close to flat over the porch and so forth.
312 maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a 312 if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you can keep a 312 there. Okay. So you got shingles on it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
You're never, yeah. I mean, even at 312, it's going to be hard to see when you're standing out there. The
Right.
CAD drawing is deceiving.
But if you do catch a view of it, or if you're in someone else's second floor, it'll be shingled, which is nice. And it's hard to do that much below 312. So
yeah, I'm going to correct that. It's a 212, but
Have to put a double layer ice and water shield.
yeah, I'm
underneath
going to,
it.
yeah.
Could I see the, I'll call it the rendering, the house that convinced us to do the demolition, the rendering, I'll call it? The hand sketch. The hand sketch.
Oh,
The demolition came
That's it. That's
even
in last
before I
week's
started
submission.
working on this, to be honest with you.
Well, last week or 2 weeks ago, we saw a hand sketch, I'll call it that.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was in response to, I think we were denied the previous, design that we were proposing. That was the reset, that hand sketch.
That was back in February
Yeah.
Okay,
of last year of,
I'd like to see that picture.
Steve, I don't have that in this package. I didn't bring it up on this.
I think Harry, or I looked at our last packet for that. I still had it in my downloads.
Oh,
But
it's in our last, okay.
um,
I think what, evolution over time, I don't see why that's necessarily relevant, Steve, because this is what we're being presented, whether or not
Well,
we think it's
the
acceptable.
reason I'm interested in it is because they've done tremendously. This is so much nicer, and I appreciated your effort completely. I like the shed roof instead of the gable over the garage, and that was my way of looking at it again. At that drawing I was asking.
Yeah. Well,
So-
the garage,
I
the
prefer
garage
the
was
shed, but I
steeper.
think the gable works. And if they're proposing that, the gable works. I think it blends, it's got the pitch of the secondary gable on the main part of the house. I appreciate the removal of the transoms. I think the form that's being presented blends really well with Hall Street. I appreciate the multi-pane window, the multi-pane over the one double hung. This is just a very minor comment on the bay window on the west elevation by the drive. I noticed that you put muttons in
Yeah.
both the top and lower sash.
Okay.
I mean, because the bay window is sort of a separate element, I guess you could do it there, but it's not consistent. I'm still not sure whether we're allowed to review the color of the muttons, but as always, I would suggest a lighter color instead of the black with the dark tinted windows, which is on trend. But I really have to defer to Harry whether we're allowed to review that. But I do think this design is much improved. I think it is in compliance with the design guidelines, and I very much appreciate all the work that went into getting the design to this point.
We have approval of windows. It's in the code. I've read it. and read it.
But
I'm
the
looking
color-
for the reason that I'm wrong and I haven't found it.
Okay.
I would agree that a lighter color for the exterior of the windows will help accentuate the smaller Muntin grid and is more consistent with the smaller grid. In other words, you don't have a modern farmhouse window configuration, so why color it like one? But from the inside, if you want to go black, that's a completely different thing, and that actually has the biggest impact and is the most visible. But getting away from the only other very small comment I've got is that potentially moving the garage dormer face back a foot or so behind the line of the front wall of the garage could lighten it up and push it back a little bit. Could be really nice. I think this has come a long way, and I do like it, and I'm happy with what we're seeing. So
Yeah, the only other, I mean, if assuming we're keeping the gable dormer, I agree with George. I think
Can we go back to that front elevation?
Well, well, right here though, where you're seeing that's right over the front wall of the garage.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, let's look at that. There you go.
Yeah, my comment is that the windows seem sort of pinched into that. I mean, the windows seem too big for the size of that dormer.
Oh. Mhm.
The
length, yeah.
You're pinching the corners with the roof, and maybe
Okay.
there's a way to
shorten them.
Scale
I can study that.
window down so that you've got more field. But other than that, I mean, I think this has really come a long way.
It's good.
Come a long way. What is the window treatment? Glass and frame. What are they made of and what are they colored?
So, I mean, at this point, we're still in the preliminary. I'm going to suggest in aluminum clad wood. I've had no discussion on colors yet, so I don't feel comfortable making that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's preliminary, so we're going to see the colors again.
Yeah, and the siding will be cement board. The trim would be, it'd be an AZAC or a Burrell if possible, but yeah, solid materials.
Okay, I move to approve as presented. And I would also make the statement that I won't be voting for black windows.
Won't be voting for black windows?
Second.
That's right.
Yeah, I would like to see if there is, just for my own education, if there's, if the ARB does have the ability to vote on color schemes.
We can't vote on paint.
What's that?
We can select roof materials, we can select windows and their makeup, and we cannot select the color you paint your house.
The color paint, right, okay.
Yeah.
So if he wants bright pink Pepto-Bismol windows, he could do that.
We had that done. We had FU yellow house painted on.
Oh, I remember that one.
Otherwise known as passing lane yellow, yeah. So a second, Harry?
So we have a second by who?
Me, Naylor.
And who made, and Steve, you made the motion? Okay. Motion by King, second by Naylor to grant preliminary approval for 35 Hall Street. King?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes, with the comment that I agree with Dr. King, I will not be approving black exterior mutton bars or dark tinted windows.
Childs?
Abstain.
Okay.
Didn't say that, no.
Thank you, David
you.
and Mark.
I got one more for you guys.
See, we always try and keep it, Mark, we try and keep it under 60 times to the board. And I think we're getting there.
Thanks, George. Take care. Thank you all.
Good.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, 271 Bill. I thought we were done with it.
It was in for preliminary. You guys did. There was really just one comment, which we removed the little brackets we had on the columns. That was your only comment.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We didn't think we were seeing it again. I was surprised.
All
And I
right.
think if
Yeah,
we all take a quick peek and we can just move to approve, we can
Yeah.
I
make this happen quickly.
So nothing has changed since last time, except the removal of the arch.
Yeah, nothing else changed. That's the only thing I did.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. Got muffled. What was the
Thank
change?
you. I couldn't hear it either.
Was removing of the brackets. There's a term that
Oh,
Bill used, I
right.
forget. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Bill, what were
bents.
those called?
They're called bents.
Okay. So I move to approve plan is presented.
Good. Second.
Okay, motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Childs?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
47 East Orange Street, fence.
Now I'm done. No, they already approved.
It's wrought iron, but is there any elevation or we already see the elevation of it?
Yeah, what I sent you is what I had.
I'm on now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are there any details or elevation view of this wrought iron fence? Wrought iron fence sounds promising.
Yes, there is a drawing by Finelli that I submitted. It's like a hand drawing. And they also have put some of the toppers on there, which I am not committed to because I thought maybe you guys might have a feeling on it. And I've also shown at the top of my house, there's a fence. And it has the fleur de lis, which we just had restored. We had it taken down and completely restored, which by the way is very expensive, but we weren't aware of that, but it's okay. So I figured you guys might have a comment on which topper that you liked better. So I am not attached to any of those.
We can't see it. Oh,
There it is.
Hey, there we go.
I kind of like that middle one, but
It's the fleur de lis to match the existing.
The ones at the top are the original and they don't make that anymore. It's a flat, but it's very, very similar. There's a picture of the ones at the top somewhere in here. Picture of the actual home.
This is lovely.
Thank
And
you.
to
I'm
go
so
to the
excited.
expense of wrought iron. Yes.
And we'll be able to be in our front yard without worrying about the dogs. And we have a fountain out there, so it will protect the fountain from anybody getting in it, which obviously it's less than 12 inches deep anyway. But, you know, it's just, I feel like it'll really tie the yard in together and we're really excited.
So the gates you show are 42 inches tall or 30? What's
The top of the
limit?
fence will not exceed 42 inches.
So you have to trim those gates down a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, they can do the gates with a nice
That curve is nice.
curve.
Yeah.
It is curve. I guess you could curve down instead of up, but that may, I mean, I don't think anything's going to jump over that gate.
No. And I
With the
wanted it to be
portalie
a
on
double
top.
gate so that it was easier for deliveries.
Okay.
I think any of those details are acceptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Where does it go again?
It's really going to be nice.
Thank you so much. So your only comment is that just the top of the gate cannot exceed 42 inches.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, that's what I'll tell Finelli then.
I'd like to see where the fence goes again. I was not fully understanding.
All right, hold on a second, Steve.
It's at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, I gotta see if I can get out of here without losing you guys.
I'm glad you're in charge of this and not me. I could barely
Is it
sign
tab?
on.
Is it tab
That's
number
kind of
10?
it, Harry.
What's that?
Go back down on that. No, other way. Yeah, right there. That's,
Yeah, there you go.
so the gate is in the front yard,
Oh, uh-huh.
extending from the house to the side of all the way around to the side of the existing stone stairs.
Then there's a gate.
Correct.
And right there is at the top of it. So there's enough room that these gates could be left open,
Correct.
swinging out, I assume.
Yes.
Carrie,
And-
if she wants to do a curve, is that a variance?
Yeah, because the code's very specific on height of fences.
I would recommend approval of that if you choose to go that direction.
I agree.
Meaning,
With that nice curve that you're putting at the top of the fence, at the gate. Sorry, at the gate, the curve of the gate.
We just prove it aesthetically. You may have to take extra steps or even get a variance to get it approved zoning wise.
Yeah, so Addie, if you wanted to add this in my red line here,
yeah.
that's like the 42-inch mark. If you want to go above that, that would probably trigger a variance to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which will delay you a couple months. So
Well, why don't I just make the gate or the whole thing a little bit shorter? It's custom, so he can do it any height he wants.
That sounds good.
Lower the fence,
Yeah.
lower the fence and leave the gate.
Perfect.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Okay, so motion for approval of plan is presented.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, motion by
excited too.
Naylor. We have a motion by Naylor.
A second.
Yes.
seconded by Childs. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
guys.
day.
Thank you.
You
You too.
Okay, I do believe we do have a walk-in.
Well.
I think
Grove
we
Hill.
still have the fence at the village's fence up on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry about that. Let's get to that.
Harry,
So
where do fountains fall in terms of
what's that?
that fountain appeared after midnight one night, I think. Where does
That fountain's not permanently attached to the ground. It collects less than 1.5 feet of water. It's made out of foam, actually. It looks like it's concrete, but it's not. So
Okay.
Not a structure.
it's not a structure.
Not a structure. There's a garbage bag over it for 6 months a year.
So here's the fence for Grove Hill. You guys had asked for additional information. And I know the chief administrative officer had spoken with the chairman, Mr. King, Dr. King, about this. And just let Steve take it from there.
Just said that the deal they cut with the Conservancy was that there's never going to be a sidewalk going up there. Kind of it in a nutshell. But I mentioned that we couldn't really tell the drawing we had where the fence was going. I hope they corrected that.
Yeah. Right about where there's a stake in the ground, I think where the fence goes, and it is right where this drawing shows the sidewalk starting to turn up to the house. That's about where it's just the lower downhill side of where that breaks.
So parcel B is owned by the village, and then everything to the right or to the east is owned by the village.
Correct. And this fence was part of the
Development agreement?
Development agreement between the Western Reserve Land Conservancy and the Village of Chagrin Falls.
Was there any specific delineation of where the fence was supposed to go?
It is just to divide the village property from 3 West Summit Street.
Okay.
Okay. Still didn't draw it on the map.
So can we go back to the site plan where the fence is drawn in? Okay, so this still leaves me at the same place where I believe the fence should continue. Oh, the problem, who's paying for this fence?
It's part of the village is paying for part of it, from my understanding. It's all part of the agreement with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy.
My issue with this fence is, of course, and I'll just restate it, is at the gate where the connection visual connection between the Grove Hill wall and that interior sidewalk. If I could pick how this fence would go, I would have it continue straight up the sidewalk and put the gate where the sidewalk curves into the parcel A property owner.
Yeah, it's the same lacking.
Because that's a very bad, Phil pointed this out, and I thought it was a really good point. This sets a very bad precedent when we start fencing in public property.
Yeah, but that's, that's a discussion you need to have with the mayor then.
Well, this is a very.
Yeah, but then I can't, I'm not, yes, it is.
This is a discussion that should be handled with the mayor. I mean, this is what we've been dealt with, and they're just asking for some.
I mean, I'm thinking of Bell Street Park when we had the Mario situation, and that property owner at that time was proposing part of parkland, and it went to zoning, and there was a whole, I believe there was a ballot issue. And
right.
So that's, perhaps we should table this for discussion with the mayor, Steve.
Well, I've gotten feedback, Rob, from the mayor saying, we cut a deal with the Nature Conservancy, that's the deal. In other words, it's a very unique situation, and this won't set a precedent for anybody else unless it's a huge convoluted deal like this one.
And that was my question, is what was the deal? I mean, was this fence specifically delineated there? And if that's what we have to work with, then we really need to examine the tie-in between the sidewalk and the Grove Hill wall and the public sight line when you're driving up Grove Hill. And then do I have this piece of aluminum picket fencing kind of hanging in the air there?
Okay, here's what I suggest you do. You approve the fence that separates 3 West Summit Street from the village property. The section that you're concerned about between Grove Hill Wall and the sidewalk, I would suggest you have a conversation with the mayor and the chief administrative officer. They need to get this fence ordered and they want to get it done. So
yeah, but we've been talking about this for a couple rounds now of what we are looking at, and I hesitate to approve a fence when I'm not seeing it as a whole. Maybe there's another solution out there.
I think that if the agreement has to do with separating the 2 pieces of property, and if the property along Main Street, the right of way of Main Street, is public property, not private property, then to meet the letter of the agreement, you are separating the 2 pieces of property. Well, it stops at the sidewalk. It stops at that.
So you mean we
corner.
just
And if
approve?
you put the fence in across the rear of the property, that meets the requirements. As far as,
Okay, because the other solution would be to how to handle the piece of fencing going north. So if we don't approve that 4 foot or whatever that is, 12,
it's not 4 feet, it's close to 20.
20 feet.
Right.
So
I
Harry,
mean,
you're suggesting we just approve the
I would
fencing
suggest that
to
you
the
approve the fence
west.
and then talk to the administration about your concerns with the public sidewalk and the piece between the wall and the sidewalk.
I'll approve the fencing to the west of the sidewalk.
There will not be in the future any right of way granted to the public, says the village.
Am I right in
east side of
thinking?
this existing sidewalk.
So some number of feet uphill of this fence, that sidewalk does turn into the private property.
Yes.
That's what we,
Right.
that's what we just established with the site plan. So I really don't see practically, I mean, I think there are 2 issues. One is you're fencing off 50 feet of walkway going up, but it's still going into the private property eventually. So to me, that doesn't seem, practically speaking, as a big issue. And the other is the visual impact of the fence as it comes and meets the wall. I mean, I was hoping maybe someone would look at a little taper down section or something right at the wall, but that's a black iron fence. It has very little visual weight. It is not going to have a lot of impact up there above the wall. I mean, even if they just run it and they stop at 4 inches short of the wall, you're probably not going to really notice it. If they taper it down, all the better. But I do think maybe this is more of a theoretical issue than a real one in this instance.
Oh, I think it's a real issue. Grove Hill is a very important historic, that wall is a WPA wall on the main Grove Hill of town. And there are a lot of different public sight lines looking up there, and this weird piece of fence tying into that wall.
At this point, George, the grade drops probably 4 feet down to the top of the wall. So this fence, we're not talking about a straight line. We're talking, the fence has got to somehow step down that grade and if the village is responsible for maintaining that right of way, that means both sides of that wall are our responsibility. They're not the responsibility of the neighbor. He's not volunteering to come in and maintain the village property. We're responsible for that. And at some point in the very near future, we're going to have to put some money. We, the village of Chagrin Falls, is going to have to put some money in clearing that vegetation out and preventing the invasive species vegetation that's growing there from continuing. It's on our nickel, and there's no way to get to that land without asking permission from somebody that doesn't own it. It
Just 'cause
doesn't
there's
make
a
any
gate
sense
doesn't
to
mean you
me.
can't you just walk through the gate? I mean, is it gonna be a locked gate?
Bring a machine, well, I don't know.
It's
how you-
it's gonna be unlocked, I think.
Unlocked.
I just
So
don't
whoever's doing that
understand
work
why-
can walk through the gate.
I don't understand why it has to go past the sidewalk.
That's a decision above my head, Phil.
Well, I agree
loud
with
and
you,
clear.
Harry, and I don't want to make.
We need the ground rules of what deal has been made, very specifically. Was there a specific fence at a specific location agreed on? And what is the policy when we have public land that we're fencing?
Fencing off.
And I'm not comfortable voting until I have that information.
Maybe you guys should walk up there with the mayor and talk and like look at that spot together. I don't think we're allowed to all do it together, but we could do it, But I mean, I think if Wendy and Phil went, I think that's legal.
It's
not a
not a
sunshine
matter
law
of
problem.
what I think looks good. I need to know the ground rules of what's been agreed upon, what the deal
Wendy,
is.
why don't you call Bill and talk to the mayor?
I'd like the chairman to do that, to set something up.
I can do that.
Usually with the board. I'm not trying to, this is a very hot issue in the village and it sets a precedent.
Well.
And I want to make
sure
sure I'm working with the right fact situation.
We entered into a real estate agreement with the Conservancy, so there's no precedent unless you have some other land swap sale, whatever like this. We don't know because they still haven't given us a drawing of what they're going to do. That other plot map is still not right. Straight sidewalk all the way up and so forth. I would like to move that.
I don't understand the urgency.
Well, I want to get it done.
It's part of the deal, Phil, with the village.
Right.
The West.
I get that part.
And I don't think Galushi's pushing here. I move that we approve in principle the style of fence and in principle to recognize the agreement, but final approval will occur after we know exactly what they're doing and how they're tying into the wall,
or whether
or treatment relating to
whether
or
we're
whether.
tying.
Pardon?
My objection is that it shouldn't exist at all. Because the right of way is not.
Well, there's not going to be a right of way. The mayor says that we're never building a sidewalk up there again. It's not going to happen. So he's saying we've agreed to no right of way. Maintenance is another issue, but
I can't do that. I'd like to table it until I have more information. I'm one vote. I'm only one vote. That's where I am.
Or you guys can
put
a motion on the floor and vote it up or down. And
Or put the full motion on and I'll vote it down. Yeah.
Right. If it's voted down, it has to be presented.
well, my weak sister motion is all it was. Pretty close to tabling. And so we will, I move to table this, noting clearly that we like the fence style and the general theory, but we need to know exactly what we're voting on.
Second.
Okay,
Good.
I will convey comments to the administrator, mayor.
All right.
Do we have a walk-in?
We do. Me,
Phil.
We better have a run-in.
Phil, you're the walk-in?
I am. Okay, so now I've got to do something I've never done before.
I gotta stop sharing.
He's putting shutters on his house.
All the way around.
So Katie's gotta let you do a screen share.
No, he can automatically do it as long as you stop, Harry.
I
Phil,
stopped.
do you see the green share screen? There you go.
That.
Is there
Look at
anybody
this.
else that needs to be speaking, or is it just you,
Oops,
Phil?
oops, oops. Okay. Can you, everybody see this?
No.
No, it's black right now.
Black screen.
It's coming up.
How about now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes, okay. This is three, okay, a little explanation. This house is one of the Greek revivals that is on Washington Street, all built about the same time in the mid 1800s. This one happens to be brick, and it's on the corner of Washington Street and Cleveland Street. It is the property that lost 20 feet of their property when they built the Gabion Wall.
Right.
On the corner of Cleveland Street and Washington Street. So there's a fairly steep slope up from the house, up to the house from the sidewalk. And Barb would like to have some sort of, there is no garage. There's a shanty shed or lean-to that you see on the left-hand side that was built before she purchased the house. And they converted the one-car garage into the bedroom on the first floor. So the only way in and out of this house from the front is to park in the driveway and walk the sidewalk to what is now just a door. She would like to put some sort of covering over the front stoop, and the simplest solution is to try to add something like what is shown on the first elevation, option 1. Then the second option would be to add a porch, because the stoop is about an 8.5-inch step down from the threshold of the door down to a stone step, which consists of a slab that's probably 36 inches by 36 inches, and then 2 chunks of barnstone, basically sandstone, that are sitting on the ground walking down. It's pretty steep. We could, if we add the canopy that doesn't have any columns, there's no work that is involved with, rebuilding the stoop. And then we could put a wooden stair and basically restack the sandstone steps that are already on site, and get the steps to be less steep and provide some adequate cover for anyone that's coming to the front door and waiting for Barb to answer the front door.
So how far does that front gable project forward from the face of the wall? And we don't have photos and stuff to look at.
Yeah. So
and then what are the verticals that are shown on the wall around the entry?
Okay, did I send you pictures, Harry? But they're not part of your package.
No.
I can share them,
Phil,
right?
you've probably seen this, but I did the century plaque in this house, and there's a 1956 building card image that shows that wing with a porch. The porch facade has been moved forward and closed a little bit towards the
Right.
street.
The original
Right?
structure had a, well, first of all, it's divided into thirds, right?
It's got a lot of changes to it.
Yeah, so the last third of that wing was added. And when they added that third, they covered over, they brought the face out to the,
because there used to be
probably in 56.
a window on that west elevation of the main body of that house. So
there was?
Just yeah, because I'm looking at it and it's enclosed now in the interior of the house. You'll see if she's got that photo.
I mean, I'm just wondering if there's something.
My first look at this is that has been brought forward, and my inclination is to go with the simplest stoop with the brackets, because there is a bit of an Italianate influence going on in the historically with that main masonry portion of the house. Because there's already been a lot of alterations to that wing.
Bill, can this door be moved this way?
Say that again?
Can that door be moved that way so there's not, what you have here is you have a lot of tension here?
Yeah,
if you share my screen, I can show you that photo. Or if you let me share my screen.
Hello?
You're there. Hi,
Can
Bill.
do I do that?
No.
Okay.
Bill, you'll need to stop sharing your screen and then Wendy can share.
So I do that.
You
Stop
stop
sharing.
and I go. This is pretty scary when
Okay.
Wendy and Phil are in charge of it. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Oh,
the
that's
50
lovely.
that's the 56 image, and there's that. Can you see my little hand? I don't know what you can see.
Yep. We can see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's the window that's been enclosed, and then there was an addition to that west elevation over there.
Yeah.
So in other words, there's been a lot of alteration in the house.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'll show you,
and these alterations have been there a long time.
There's the house now.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
So there is about a 2-foot step back from the massing of the original brick to the face of that addition. Yes, right. It steps back
Right.
equally on both sides.
Addition.
And I agree. I think I agree with you, Wendy, that of the options that are there, the bracketed canopy is the least invasive, I guess. To answer your question, Bill, I would love to move the door down, but that has impact inside the house that I honestly haven't even seriously looked at. Barb's question was, can I do something? And if I can do something, what can I do? I actually am, I recognize that the scale of the 2 porch options is jammed up against that corner because it's centered on the door. And the other part that I'm trying to avoid is that the flashing detail along the running up the rake of that original addition is actually a brick ledge that was built into the house originally. And I don't want to do anything that impacts how that step flashing and everything that's going on in that inside corner that's worked for 150 years. I don't want to mess with it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So this roof is so shallow that if you put a hip or any type of gable, this baby's going to go way back here. So
yeah,
I would just do 2 simple brackets on either side, tight against the trim, and just do a flat roof and just try to keep it understated as much as possible, because you want to keep this gutter as much distance here so when the water's rolling here, it has somewhere to go. And you don't want to have tension between these 2 forms.
Yeah, well, she actually she had new gutters put on last year, and you can already see the damage to the brick as the gutters come in from either end of the original brick two-story structure. So my thought in doing the canopy that I drew, which is basically a flat roof, is to keep it far enough away that we can capture the water from the upper roof and get rid of any water that's coming from, that would be diverted off of the lower roof into that corner in a better way to save that old brick. Does that make sense?
If you were to do a more substantial entry stoop, I agree with the flat roof concept. I do think it's going to look odd to have anything little gable running back and back. But what about pulling it out and, pulling it out as far as you need and making it as wide as those original posts of the porch? So you just like mirror those square porch posts forward 5 feet. You've already got your pilasters there. And the door might be a little off center, but it's back under. I mean, maybe you just use the original, so that way you're not creating a subset of columns tighter than the original porch columns.
So you're thinking of a porch that's not necessarily the original, but they've got this. They're not really pilasters. It's just a piece of trim that separates siding that butts up to it, but going the 1/3,
right,
and taking it all the way into, or bringing it
against the brick, right?
Yeah,
up
taking
against the brick to the brick,
and
flat out,
and out past the face of the original brick structure, so that we're giving it more depth and definition. And again, the other piece, Bill, from a design standpoint, is that if you look at that door relative to the soffit, it's the door is 60 or 80 inches tall, and the soffit coming out is 84. There's very little dimension. So trying to get any kind of definition of a beam underneath the gable is pretty limited. But what we're saying is, if it's a flat roof, you think it would read better?
Even though that is a flat roof, I'd still try to put an entablature and go around her, even though it's going to cover up a little bit of the door. So, we've done that before, where the entablature is a little lower. You just got to look at your proportions and stuff. But, and I'd keep the brackets tight up against that trim. If you bring a porch out, my only concern is, does the porch become more dominant than this main mass of this house? Usually, this would be prominent, and then maybe the porch is both. It's a tough solution no matter what you do. I don't know, you'd have to really study that one. I guess I'd try to keep it as invasive as possible, though, and keep it as subtle and understated as possible.
So I think that's a good strategy. Going small and subtle is one way, and then the other, I almost think you have to break that gutter line and pop something up higher in some way, and that's going to be a trickier and a more ambitious undertaking.
Especially with this roof being so flat, because then you're going to have like a beam or something dying up into the middle of this roof.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one. That's a tough one to solve.
Yeah, it sounds to me, and I sent this stuff in so we could talk about it, and I gave it to a local contractor to see, what these two options be setting her back. And so my inclination is to start with, is to do something simple. If she decides that she would like to do something more sophisticated, then what I'm hearing is let's not do a flat, or let's do a flat roof and not try to define any kind of additional gable, because it's just pinched too far into the corner next to the original house. And the last thing I want to do is kind of change anything more with that original structure. I mean,
Right.
well,
Continue
okay.
order lunch, or we can move on.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You earned it. You earned it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
I believe that's our adventure today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Have a
day.
good
Dominic,
day.
welcome.
Hi,
Bye.
Dominic.
Bye.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Dominic.
Bye,
Bye.
Dominic. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
I heard that, Harry.
Thank gosh.